Yeah, hello, welcome to a new video. And yeah, this video is meant as a sort of appetizer for the upcoming match between Aronian and Vladimir Kramnik starting tomorrow. Tomorrow means April 21st. They play in Switzerland, a six-game match, and it's a friendly match. It's not for some title or specific prize or something. It's a training match, if you will. Um, yeah, one thing I'd like to also address is yeah, the first game played tomorrow on April 21st will also be yeah, broadcast in a yeah, on a Twitch channel, and there will be a live commentary done by a friend of mine, Brandon from the United States, and by me. Um, we'll start a couple of minutes before the game starts, so slightly before 3 p.m. European time, which would be 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll also post the address of the Twitch channel in the video description here on YouTube. It's twitch.tv/chessexplained. Chess explained without an E though, so explained and not E-explained, so to say. But just use the link that will be provided in the text. All right. Yeah, the appetizer here in this video is a game that I chose to present between the two players. I was going through the games and was thinking what kind of game I should present, because they played many interesting games, of course. I was in general rather surprised that the overall score is very heavily in Kramnik's favor. I was expecting more of an even result, because the players are pretty much even in strength, but Kramnik has a pretty decent plus score. In classical time control games, actually Aronian only managed to win one game, while Kramnik I think won three or four, and the game that Aronian won was from a worse position. But he's very good at that. Need to mention that Aronian is a big fighter in bad positions, and often even manages a complete turnaround and even wins. So at the end, I selected a game which is, yeah, actually not of the highest quality in pure chess terms, but it was a very dramatic game, and also just a rapid game. The game starting tomorrow will be classical time control, so up to, let's say, 7 hours total playing time, and this rapid game that I selected from the Amber tournament in 2010 was just a 30-minute game, or 25 minutes, I didn't look it up, so rapid time control. But the game was very tense and very dramatic, so interesting to follow at least. I know that I watched this game really live, and it was being played, and I know that people were really, yeah, really fascinated, because it was such a tough battle. Okay, let's start. Aronian playing white, and he plays d4. This is his main move. He also from time to time plays c4 and knight f3. He never goes e4, but he plays all the closed openings. Kramnik here opts for Nimzo Indian, which he often does, of course. And now Aronian plays e3. The Rubinstein system, which is, I think, his main weapon against the Nimzo. Castles, bishop d3, just normal development. Now black goes c5, putting a foothold in the center, and now knight f3, so just the classical way of developing. Often people are somewhat put off by the bishop on c1 here in the Rubinstein system, because it looks rather passive. But this e3 setup guarantees white a quick development of the king side and a quick castling. and very often the bishop gets into play later because white gets to move his e-pawn at some point, or black maybe exchanges on d4. For instance, a main line here could be a cd4, ed4, d5, castles, takes, and the bishop is no problem anymore. Very often the center opens up in some way. Of course, there are lots of lines, and Nimzo has heaps of theory. Kramnik now plays b6, which is yeah, less popular move. Of course, a playable move, but it's not seen so often. And Aronian, of course, could just castle here and most likely transpose into some other line. For instance, castles and bishop b7. Let's say castles, bishop b7 is a well-known position. But in this specific position, white has a chance to play d5, which he does, of course. This changes dramatically the position to a sort of Benoni structure. Black now captures and white recaptures. The first question here is what if black takes on d5? Oops, he plays h6, but let's check briefly what happens if he takes. Yeah, then white has a very common tactic here, taking on h7. King takes, queen takes, and white has a very nice position. a8 is just hanging, and if black develops his knight, there are things like this possible, and it looks very much like a Greek gift sacrifice, but white didn't even sacrifice anything here. So black cannot really take on d5, but this explains his move h6. This now threatens knight takes d5, as there's nothing that white can take on h7. So white goes for e4 here and covers this pawn on d5. And yeah, this now leads to very interesting complications, as Kramnik chooses a very sharp approach here. He just captures on e4, trying to use the fact that white king is not castled yet. So white recaptures and now takes here, and rook e8. And now we see that white hasn't castled yet, and he has no way to preserve his bishop on d3, on e4. He cannot move it, and well, there's no good way to keep it. So he goes knight to d2, which forces black to play f5 to really get the bishop. Now castles, f takes e4, and c4. And now we see an interesting transformation of the position. Black is a pawn up even, but the main point here will be that white will get a very strong bishop on b2. We can do the next move pair here. d6 is very logical to get the c8 bishop into play. Now white goes bishop b2. So white has a huge bishop on b2, which points to the g7 square, which easily can become a weakness in black's camp. Overall, black's king's position could be somewhat shaky, so white has quite good compensation here for the pawn. My personal first instinct would be to prefer white, but this position is maybe about equal. So let's see how it continues. Kramnik goes for queen g5. Very aggressive approach, also very playable. And now very direct move by Aronian f3. Also a strong move, I think. Slow moves don't really help here. The idea is black goes bishop h3 now. Let's show some ideas here. If black would capture on f3, white can recapture with the queen, and this very much speeds up the development. Black now needs to do something about the queen f7 check threat here. Very annoying threat. And let's say he goes queen e3. Then white can just capture. And still his development advantage is very serious. Even let's say a line like this here, black now has not much choice here, needs to capture. Now white threatens rook e7 and knight e4, capturing d6. The d6 pawn is quite weak here and cannot easily be defended, so white has very nice compensation. This position even is, I think, good for white. So it's dangerous to take on f3. An alternative would be e3, just advancing the pawn, and looks very strong at first sight, as black is threatening to play e2 also. But white has, of course, knight e4, gaining a tempo on the queen. And then, for instance, queen g6, rook e1. And it's difficult for black now to keep the pawn. Let's say bishop f5, rook takes, and if black now tries to grab this pawn, there's rook g3, and on g7 it's just end of game. White crashes through and wins material, and mate is not far away also. So black cannot keep this pawn with e3. It was an alternative though, as in this position, of course, black doesn't need to capture. He can develop here, knight d7. Okay, but Kramnik played bishop h3. This is the sharpest move. Queen e2 needs to cover g2, not much choice. And now e3. This was Kramnik's idea. Knight here and queen g6. Yeah, now a strong move by white, and one that is very useful to remember. The idea is useful to remember, of course. This concrete position you won't get on the board most likely, but the idea is very, very useful. And this is a4. This is just a strong move. The idea is to go rook a3 and capture with the rook on e3. So it makes optimal use of this rook, trying to capture on e3 in 2 moves, which would greatly increase white's activity. Any other route would be just slower. Note that white has problems. He can never capture on e3 with the queen, as it is made on g2, so he cannot really try to get this pawn in another way. And this just is a very good activation of the pieces. Makes really makes good use of all pieces that white has here. Knight e7, very logical to get this into the game. And now rook a3, as mentioned. Yeah, and now actually Kramnik commits a mistake here. He plays knight e5, and this well, some normal move would have been okay for black. I think there was some choice what black can do, but I didn't look at this. I just saw that this was a problem. But Aronian doesn't use this opportunity. It wasn't so easy to see also. He played king h1, which is a very natural looking move. Get out of this g file, this annoying pin of the queen on g6. But he had a chance here. He could take on d6, and this is quite strong. As queen takes d6, rook takes e3, puts the knight into a nasty pin, and white will get the piece back. Black cannot move his knight, as this thing here on e8, this rook is just hanging. So white will get the piece back on e5 with a nice advantage. But he didn't see that. Please keep in mind that it's a rapid game. So this game contains quite a number of mistakes that the players wouldn't make in a long time control game, but it's will get very, very dramatic now. King h1, and now Kramnik really strikes here. He captures on c4, which is really a blow. White cannot take on c4, of course, because of g2 mate, queen g2 mate. And this move also simultaneously attacks rook a3, the bishop on b2, and covers the pawn. So it does lots of positive things here, of course. But one point is, what happens if white captures the bishop? This was hanging now, and Aronian also, he took the bishop. And now Kramnik strikes the next blow with rook takes e4. So quite out of the blue, black got some attack going here, but the amazing thing is that also this whole operation opened up the G file, which gives white strong counterplay on G7. So it's not the kind of attack where it's just black all the way. White will get counterplay. Let's first check what happens, of course, if white takes the rook, which is a mistake really, but difficult to see. Black just recaptures, and then white will, I think, interpose here with the queen. If he goes to G1, the only other sensible move, black can just capture the rook and play something like rook E8, and this is a very good position for black. He's got this absolutely massive pawn on E3, which greatly hinders white's position. He cannot really move the queen because of E2, and black of course has got 3 pawns for the piece already, and D5, A4, H3. The pawns of white are basically all weak, so black is very much better here. So let's say queen G2. Black can play E2, gain a tempo here. Rook E1, the only move. Otherwise, black would promote. Also take note that this is direct checkmate, so white cannot take the queen. So rook E1 needs to block the pawn or stop the pawn, and now black has a simple option to capture and take on B2. And the nice thing here is rook E2, knight C4 with the tempo. So white needs to move the rook first and then knight E5, and this is the key here, that the knight reaches the perfect square on E5. On E5 it just blocks the E file, so white cannot enter rook E7. He also will never play rook F7 because the knight covers the square, and yeah, black has extra pawns for this exchange and has basically all the winning chances here. White has possibilities to fight, of course. It's not entirely lost, maybe directly, but black is certainly better here. So Aronian was right not to go for this. On rook takes E4, he didn't capture, as we analyzed, but he played rook G1. And this immediately gets to the G7 pawn and initiates counterplay. Black goes queen H5, very logical to build up a pin here. The pawn can never take the rook because the queen E2 is hanging. So somehow black's pieces defend each other tactically. Now white takes on G7. King F8. Of course he cannot go to H8 right into the discovery. So rook F8 and now rook H7. And this is really a crazy position. White threatens, of course, rook H8, and also has got ideas of getting the queen into the battle, like queen G2, queen G2, G7, and mate is near. So white has some strong counterplay. And now Kramnik commits a mistake. He plays knight takes B2. Of course, this is super difficult to play. It's just hell in a rapid game, so mistakes are natural here. What he could do is he could play rook A8, A to E8, for instance. This was a possibility. Therefore, with this move covering the rook, so it's not hanging on A8. And a possible continuation would be queen G2 here, threatening on G7, which black can block with queen G5. That's the only move, really. And now, for instance, takes here, takes, and rook takes E4. Just a fascinating position. Black is a rook down, but he threatens to promote his pawn. And what can white do? Let's say he protects the bishop on B2, takes, and if white now recaptures, the pawn is just going through. So white needs to get some counterplay. Rook takes a7, e2, rook check, check, king e7, and this is oh, I didn't continue this line actually. This is funny. I think this is perpetual. I think. Let's just check quickly here that I'm not talking some nonsense. Yeah, it's a perpetual. Okay. Oops. Yeah, I prepared some lines before the video, of course, but somehow I didn't paint an evaluation here in the text. So this is a perpetual. Very difficult to see, of course. It's easily imaginable that on Queen G2 he didn't calculate this line so far. Of course, he's capable of doing that, but in a limited time. Also, black could take on a3 here, was also possible. Rook check, king f7, rook a8, and now just return to e7, because after bishop takes, queen e5, black has got strong counterplay again. Queen a1 is threatened, and now queen c2, which secures the draw for white with queen h7 to come. This also ends in a perpetual. So very, very sharp and difficult lines. Also, this move here, knight takes b2. Right after that, also Aronian makes a mistake, very understandable mistake though. He could play queen g2, which is really super difficult to find. Threatening queen g7 now, and black needs to interpose. A line like let's say rook e7, rook e7, rook takes, king takes, queen g7, king here, and rook e3 is even winning for white. His attack will crash through here. So queen g5, and then white can capture, and white is close to winning in this position, as here e3 is hanging, and also this rook h8 is threatened. The relatively best line is something like this, and white has very good winning chances here. He should win actually, but queen g2 was difficult. Aronian captured on e3, which makes sense. Also for a human player, of course, I looked at this game with the help of a computer to get some quick tactical checks going, and it's very difficult to play this over the board, especially considering the low time that they most likely had. So black captures, and now king g8. This actually is the only move, as rook h8 was a heavy threat. Something like this, white just gets the rook at the end. So this is king g8 is the only move. Now white captures, queen f5, rook h4. This is quite logical, going for rook g4, f4. So black gets the knight back in order to cover f4 here. So this position now is winning for black, but it's difficult, really difficult, because let's continue here. Rook e4. He grabbed the pawn, which is okay. Rook e7 check, and now black commits the decisive, not a decisive mistake, but he spoils his advantage. He absolutely needed to go to f6, and this is winning, but this is of course a very tough decision to actually pull the king yeah, ahead, so to say, and not drop it back to f8. The crazy thing is that here white simply doesn't have enough to get decent play against the king. Let's say rook h7, rook g8, queen e7, king g6, and somehow there's no real continuation. White doesn't even have a decent check here. The queen d5 covers f7, and still this is not completely easy to play for black, but it should be winning considering low time, of course. Okay, but he went to f8, and it's not immediately obvious why this should be a mistake, but it will be soon. Rook h7. Here actually black had a chance still to get a big advantage with knight f2, but who plays that? It's just a computer move, and then rook e8 activating the rook. Black is quite clearly better here, but of course cannot expect this move to be played. He just played king g8, attacking the rook, rook c7, and now I guess he noticed the problems that are in this position, as white threatens the nasty move queen g1 check. So if black goes let's say rook f8 or something like this, attacking f3, white has the funny backward move queen g1. These are always easy to miss, and this is just made on g7. King moves and queen g7 checkmate, and maybe he overlooked this idea, and black really has no moves here. This queen g1 is just terrible. He could go here, but this is queen g5, and this is quite similar, mate on g7 or e7 to come. Black really has no move other than this desperado check here to get the queen of the e-file here. And now king f8. This just prevents immediate disaster. Queen e3. White threatens again. Queen e7. But now black has a series of checks here. And white, of course, still tries to win. He could easily drop the king back and it's a draw, but he tries to the utmost here to win, and advances his king to h4. And yeah, black still needs to give checks. He doesn't have much else. So check here, and queen g5. And out of this insanely complicated middle game, we now arrived at a absolutely unusual endgame where black has got these connected pass pawns c4, c5, f5 and d6, and white has the activity. The rook on the 7th, king on f8 is passive, and white has the f and h pawns, the f pawn mostly, to use. So let's just see how it continued. I think this is fairly logical. d5, f4, d4. So both players push their pawns, and now rook e8, trying to finally use the rook and play rook e7 to block the 7th rank. So king f6 is very logical. d3, rook f7, king g8, rook g7 check, king h8. So both players really go for the win here. Black could have played king f8 also. Rook d7, c4. So doesn't it look good for black? At first sight, the connected passes here. But in fact, the position is still equal, amazingly. King f7, rook c8. And now, very interesting point again. Now, Aronian actually, while trying to win, commits a mistake. He plays f6. Very natural move, of course, pushing the pawn. After f6, actually Kramnik could have gotten winning chances, but white could have drawn here with king g6, and this is absolutely amazing line. King g6, black pushes c3, trying to promote, And now rook h7 check, king g8, only move f6. And now white, threatens f7, rook h8. So black plays rook c6 and pins this pawn. And now the really amazing line, rook takes a7, threatening rook a8 checkmate, or mate next move. So black goes for this desperado sacrifice here and plays d2. And it looks like these pawns are unstoppable. Rook d8, c2, and now absolutely crazy, rook d8 check, king h7, rook d7, rook h6, king h6. Of course, if he goes back, it's perpetual check. So rook h6, king h6. Why keep I saying rook? Because rook d8 maybe is the key move now. And now, amazingly, rook h8 checkmate is threatened. And black cannot escape, really. He can go back, and it's a draw with rook d7. But he cannot go to h5, as this is a funny checkmate, where this silly double pawn on h3 is playing the key role here and taking the square on g4. An absolutely great line. It's right out of a study, I guess. Just great. So king g6 would have led to this draw if they would have found all this, but it's possible. It's possible. f6, very natural move by Aronian. Of course, white's next move will be f6 and king g6. He just somehow switched the moves. But now Kramnik could have gone king h7, king e6, king h6, and black can try to win even with his pawns. But he committed a mistake, I guess, under huge time pressure, and played c3. And now rook d4. This is an issue. Rook h4 checkmate is the heavy threat here. Black only can go here. King g6. This again threatens checkmate on d8. So he has to drop back. Rook here, check. King g8. And it's over. Yeah, and black resigned. I guess this was very heavy time pressure at the end. He would have resigned earlier, I guess. So at the end, I think very low clock times somehow decided this game. But I think I really like this game, as it's a great battle and has very nice lines up to the very end. And both players really fought super hard for a win here. So yeah, let's hope that this upcoming match, which starts tomorrow, will also give us some nice fighting chess. They have the quite interesting rule set up in the contract that if a game is a draw, I think under 3 hours playing time, or maybe also below 40 moves, then they will play an additional rapid game on this day. So in case for whatever reason they play a quick draw because they both got their preparation and it's just a draw, then we will at least get to see some nice rapid action. And as we just saw, they are quite good at rapid and producing interesting fighting games. Yeah, make sure if you have the time to tune in tomorrow to this broadcast. I think we'll do some enjoyable and also maybe some enjoyable commentary, and hope to catch you on Twitch TV tomorrow. You will also, of course, be able to chat and make suggestions. So I think this might be more interesting even than watching some other commentary feed where you cannot really participate. We will also we will look at lines that you might suggest or answer questions. So yeah, I hope to see many of you in the broadcast tomorrow. Yeah, thanks for watching, and I guess talk to you tomorrow.